Point. I'm your host, Dr. Corey Onimbright, coming to you live from the Ghana Broadcasting Corporation studios in Accra. Wandamofia Moshi, thank you so much for joining us tonight. We will come to you live this and every Sunday with issues of national concern, and we engage you in discussions for informed decision-making. We're also streaming live on GBC Ghana Online, on Facebook at Ghana Broadcasting Corporation, and as always, we welcome those listening to us on Unique 95.7. Ghanaians were jubilant on this day, March 6th, in 1957, when we became the first country in sub-Saharan Africa to gain independence. With that independence, we led the way and played a critical role in political transformation, regional integration, and press development in Africa. Today, 65 years later, our progress may have been uneven in some areas, such as democratic consolidation and development, but our heritage and our culture is strong here in Ghana. March is Heritage Month, and tonight, with a discussion topic of Our Heritage Won for Us, we focus on Ghana's cultural heritage. We encourage you to join in the discussion during the show by sending your messages to our WhatsApp number 055-744-6429. With me for tonight's discussion are from my immediate left, Attorney Anoche Frimpong. He's a lawyer and historian. Welcome, Attorney.
Thank you.
And next to him is Dr. Senyo Ajay. He's a lecturer, College of Humanities and Legal Studies, Faculty of Arts, Department of Music and Dance at the University of Cape Coast. Welcome, Doctor.
Thank you, Doc.
Okay. So I wanted to set the stage. March 6th, today, 1957, the old Polo Grounds. Our founding president, Osajifo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, he made this now famous declarative statement: "At long last, Ghana, your beloved country, is free to ever," and there was excitement and euphoria all around. Looking back, do you think we have lived up to the aspirations of that moment? I'll start with you, Dr. J.
Thank you, Doc, for the invitation, and I'm very happy to be here. I would want to use this opportunity to extend happy birthday to all Ghanaians and all the people called Ghanaians, to the President of the Republic, his Vice, the Speaker of Parliament, and all of us. And also, most importantly, the Heritage Month. We want to extend our felicitation, greetings, and regards to the chiefs, the Queen Mothers, who have held us together. We say Ayiko to all of us 65 years. If we were working in any civil or public service, we would have been on pension and 5 years counting. So are we able to feed ourselves after 60, 65 years as a country? We will say that we have done a lot. There's more to be done as a nation. From the day of declaration, it's been a lot of turbulence for this country, up and downs, but we can only be grateful and hopeful that in spite of all the challenges we have encountered, we are not too bad.
That's very well put. Attorney, what about you? What are your thoughts about the aspirations of those people who were so excited on that day on the old Polo Grounds?
Yes, I would agree with my colleague that we have achieved a lot, and I will go down to that day. On that day, the first president of Ghana declaring independence as a prime minister, wearing the smock. You know, it was a big achievement for the country. And I say this because when the colonial masters came, what they did was to create an artificial boundary between the north and the south, where the south was made up of a lot of, industries, factories here and there, educational institutions, and consciously, deliberately depleted the north. So that if there was anybody from the north, you would think about the person was going to be used for labor. Luckily, our founding fathers such as Dr. Nkrumah, Komila, Bedema, Botio, and others realized this. And so on the day of independence, consciously, they decided to wear the northern smock so as to create an impression of unity between the north and the south. which was very good for us. And then also, we often see our presidents every 4 years being sworn in, all of them wearing Ghanaian outfits. You see, many years before independence, anytime anybody went to school, they wanted to behave like the white men. And so if you were not educated, you would not dress as an European. You wouldn't put on a suit. And you were called in the Fante language, Fratamini Benin, an illiterate man. Now when Nkrumah arrived from Europe and by extension America to the Gold Coast, he rather associated with the Fratamni. And then we saw Nkrumah almost all the time in his beautiful kente cloth. And so therefore, I believe that culturally, Ghana has gained a lot. Looking back to our father Nkrumah, and then whatever he created, which has become a heritage, that every 4 years, whoever will be a president will have to wear a Ghanaian outfit. That's a big achievement.
That's a big achievement. So, Dr. Ajay, if I can come back to you.
Yeah.
So, what would you say is our cultural heritage, and how have we protected and conserved what was left for us?
Well, to address our cultural heritage, it's important for our viewers to understand what it is to say a heritage. Yeah, so we can say that a heritage is that which is bequeathed us or bequeathed other people, something we inherit or people inherit. So anything that we have today, that people after us will come and be in charge of.
So I like this one that I said. A heritage is a selection of cultural expressions that we transmit to future generations because they reflect social values. Precisely where I am actually coming. Yes.
So all that is bequeathed us, all that our forebears left us, all the social norms and so on and so forth. So generally, heritage is, as I have already said. So anything that is inherited is bequeathed people. Now, so what is cultural heritage? So we can say is an expression of our way of life. So the way we live our life, which is developed by a community. So the way of life developed by a community. And this way of life is passed on from one generation to another generation. And if we want to say some of the elements of this cultural heritage, I want to give some example, if you wouldn't mind.
Sure, that's fine.
Some of the examples ranges from our custom, our all cultural practices involving objects, artistic expressions, values, our rights, music, the clothes we wear. As I look this evening, by the producer insisting that I must look like my grandfather.
Not just you, all of us.
All of us, you see, Doc. You know, so all that we look today is some of the cultural heritage. How much have we preserved, conserved this heritage? Again, as Ghanaians, we haven't fared badly in terms of preservation of our cultural heritage. I want to talk first about the food we eat, which is what some of the heritage we have inherited. It is important to say that we have not deviated so much from the food we eat that has bequeathed us from our forebears. As an ever, I still love my akbala and fetri dechi. I still love my akbala and abobitadi. I still love my kokonte, which is all good. As counsel, my colleague would agree with me, the accounts have not exactly departed from the part of fufu, either abenkwan or krakra, and so on and so forth. I mean, I have traveled to Kumasi some time ago, and as early as 9 o'clock, I got fufu to eat. That is the reality. So preservation of our cultural heritage within the traditional setup and so on and so forth is phenomenal. I would say that the custodians of our lands, that are the chiefs, I mean, the council is an expert in those areas and he can talk more about that. If you talk about the kingdoms, the Ashanti kingdom, for example, there are several things that has been preserved over there. And it is important that other chiefs, our chiefs also learn from such attitude of keeping. Our music, how far have we preserved them? I think we have done phenomenal. Even though we have had this foreign invasion of music to some extent on festival occasions and so on and so forth, we do have some of our cultural music on display and dances. And we cannot say that we have not preserved them well. Of course, remember that culture is not static. It's dynamic.
Yeah. So having said that, let me just ask the attorney, because I did want to talk about how culture evolves. I'll come back to you about the performing arts, but I came across this Faro Convention, which is apparently the Council of Europe Framework Convention on the Value of Cultural Heritage for Society, and that's what they call the Faro Convention. But they talk about the fact that cultural heritage is a group of resources inherited from the past which people identify independently of ownership as a reflection and expression of their constantly evolving values, beliefs, knowledge, and traditions. So we just talked about the fact that how have we conserved what our forefathers left us. But the question I want to ask you is that how have we evolved those values, beliefs, knowledge, and traditions as we've gone along as a country?
Well, I would answer by going back to history. Because without the past, there can't be a present or a future. Yes. Now, we had our name Ghana because we're looking back to the ancient Sudanese empires. The first one, which was called Ghana, identified with a system where the kings and queens adorned themselves with gold and other ornaments, and even our people buried the dead with gold, which is significant and in fact synonymous with what we do today. Now, come back a bit. You will see the time that, according to Portuguese information or records, when Don Diego de Azambuja, far back in 1482, that way, when he met Nana Kwame Ansah at Elmina, the records say that the women had ESPs full of gold everywhere, the men the same thing. No wonder they named the country the Gold Coast. Now, from that time to the day, as we sit here, I can see that we have not changed. Then let's talk about the dead. Whether among the West, as my colleague was talking about, the Northerners, Southerners, wherever, we revere the dead. Our child naming ceremony, going back to the dead, we know that ancestors, Ghanaians believe we have ancestors. So whatever we are doing to others, we should be very careful, because one day will appear before the ancestors. Child naming, we name our children after the departed ones and the living ones whose lives are exemplary. Now come to talk about our high life. You will see that they are made up of words that would always exhort us to do good things in society, not to commit, let's say, sin in the biblical terms, not to, let's say, follow other people's wives, fight. No. None of our music and pieces in our music will tell us to do things that are anti-social. Everything is positive. From time immemorial, we have always had respect for the aged. But beyond that, there is something I would want us to see and to do. Now, many years ago, let's say 1868, 1869, when the Ashantis wanted to invade the Oyo Empire, their friends, their war mates, in fact, their map readers were the Ewes. Today, as we sit here, some people would want us to believe that there is a line between, let's say, the Akans and the Ewes, which I believe is wrong. Now, when you go down south to the Futu Ewutu people, their brothers are the Akwapims in the eastern region, just as the Gwans in the northern region, and then the Akwafu and the Buen people in the Oti region. So we have always been one people. The Ashantis call themselves Asante Kotoko, brothers to the Dagombes and Wa Kotoko, brothers to the Nzimas and Zima Kotoko. These are things that unite us, and we must emphasize on them. And on the day that Kwame Nkrumah was declaring independence, the beauty of it was that he stood in the middle. There was Abeli Bedema from Volta region. There was Botuo from Central region, Krobadusei from Ashanti region, Achikisli Hayford from also from Central region, Krobadusei from Ashanti, what do you call it, Imo Rigala, Alasani from the north. And that is the beauty of the country that we started.
Wow, wow. That's amazing. Dr. Ajay, I want to come back to you because he said something that was very important. He talked about the values, you know, and about high life and how the music itself amplifies the goodness in us. And I wanted to go back to performing arts and theater. And I remember the days of Osofo-Dadzi, where there would be, and shows like that, where people would do horrible things, whether it was Super Odi's character or whatever it was. But at the end, Osofo-Dadzi would come and he would talk about morality and the fact that this was wrong and this was wrong. That's not what we see now. You know, we are losing a little bit of that, aren't we, in society? That's going away. Instead of edifying and glorifying ourselves, we seem to not believe that there are consequences. I don't know what you think about this.
Right. Deterioration of morality in general is a very critical thing that faces the world at large. And this, I will conclude with preservation of our heritage and then link it up with this because there is a linkage that I want to draw here. You know, we have several institutions that ought to preserve our heritage. I would give you one example. Take the Methodist Church, for example. They have dedicated a whole directorate at the headquarters that is in charge of heritage because they saw the need of preservation of our cultural identity as well as whatever has been bequeathed us. And this directorate is the very Reverend Daniel French is in charge of this directorate. So what he's doing... No, the brother is dead.
Okay. Oh.
Yeah, Daniel French is alive. Okay. The other one is dead. Yeah, so he's in charge of all these directorate. What is he doing? Trying to preserve and contain all the good things about the method. I'm taking it from the smaller unit so I can expand it. Yeah, so to preserve all the good things about the church and then about the people that are called the Methodists, so that the young by other spiritual activities. I use spiritual activities because I don't want to use church, you know.
Yeah, in the broad sense.
The broad sense, you know. Now, to what extent have we, our morality has decayed? You see, we have, unfortunately, many of us today have lived in urban centers, and we have drawn a wedge, we have delinked ourselves and our children from certain aspect of life, that is the cultural life. Where I grew up, for example, I'm afraid to send my children there, and that should not be the case. Now, over there in the villages or in the rural settings also, there's this life that has crept in now, laziness, and people are unable to work to feed themselves. When we talk about heritage, we talk about what is bequeathed us. Hard work is one of the things that is bequeathed us by our forebears. Are we still hard-working people as Ghanaians? No, that is what you are referring to. We don't see it these days. So you see the morality is really at its highest peak now. Now, in all these situations, we need to bring to the fore, as your program is doing today, so that the council, my colleague here, will tell us the historical aspect as he's doing, and we'll be able to see that how much could we affect and infect our community today, so that people who ordinarily would see this program will learn from it, carry it, and go and teach their children. Now, there is a breakdown of morality. I teach in the university. We see the things that go on over there. We see our students. Some of them you cannot talk about it because they said that there's a freedom. And that freedom, we have taken it to another level. Somebody's where your freedom ends, that is where somebody's freedom begins. But we are not conscious of that fact that we must live a life that is decent enough so that we can be contained by community or by the society. In these instances, as we are today, we must do everything possible as a community to bring up some of the cultural things we do. You mentioned music in terms of high life. We say that the word high life in itself, it's not the music. It's not the music that is played, you know. And in a research by John Collins, he got us to believe that the high life is all about people who have the high life, meaning that people dress in suits, people dress in very Western-like clothes, and they attend concerts and so on and so forth. So people who are the indigenous stands around and look on them. So as they go into the concert halls, they say those go into the concert hall are the high life people. All right? So the people who go in are the high life people. So these young people who watch on, the indigenous, decided to create their own music outside the concert hall. And so the music which is created outside the concert hall has now become a high life, which we all see today. Now, it speaks volumes. It speaks for us. There's so much lessons that are learned. But those high life, how do we perform them today? We have replaced them with Western-infused musical genres, which in effect, some are vulgar. A friend told me yesterday he does not listen to a certain kind of music I wouldn't want to mention, you know. And I said, why? He said he doesn't like the way they dress. There's nothing they portray about us. Even the language is not understood by many. So there are no lessons in that. I agree.
The lessons are very important.
Very, very important.
They project the culture of the country.
So the songs we produce through high life, they must educate. They must edify. If it doesn't educate you, it should edify. These are the things we must be doing. And we must also, those of us in academia, it is up to us also to begin to get into the popular arena, begin to do a review and write up about the music they perform, and do comparative study, and we put it out there for people to know. So also, even though we speak about this, it's also a challenge to us, so that the projection of all the heritage will be unique.
You know, Attorney, the one thing when you were talking about music, I don't even remember when I was young, you don't hear any of these things anywhere anymore. I mean, these were fun things we used to do, ampe. I mean, all these wonderful things that children could do outside, inside, where it was passed on, I guess, by my mother. You know, I don't even remember where I learned it from. But what has happened to all of those?
Very difficult to answer, because it was because of all these things that Nkrumah set up the Institute of African Studies and put there people like Ephraim Amu, Kobran Ketia, and others. So I believe that more than 60 years after the Institute of African Studies was set up, by now there should be, or there should have been, district centers of conservation of our heritage. And so if we haven't done that yet, I believe it is not completely late. We have to do something about that, that there should be regional district centers to promote this heritage. Then I also believe that our system of education now is not helping. If you can imagine that some years ago, we had this 10-year elementary school system. We had a 7-year secondary system, 1-year national service before university. I'm not saying we should go back to all these 17 years, no. But I'm only arguing that 3 years is just, in fact, 2 full years academic work for the child to get to university. The moment he gets there, unlike our days when Form 1, Form 2, Form 3, you did all the subjects. Form 4, Form 5, you chose your subject. Today, he gets there, starts from the beginning as an art student, beginning as a business student or science. So when he doesn't know the meaning of it, so there's always pressure on him. He doesn't have time to learn any other thing. I remember the year 2000 thereabout when I went to South Africa. The moment we were touching down at Cape Town, I knew the Table Mountains and I identified them because I had learned them in primary school in Ghana. Wow. Today you cannot do that. Yeah. So I think that something should be done about our educational system whereby children will be made as part of the heritage to go back and learn this MP, to learn the Anansesem, and then Bobobo and everything that was bequeathed to us. It's not late. It's not late. The accounts have a saying that so we sign kofa yenchi. We should inculcate all this into the educational system.
So let me stay with you and ask you about, you know, we say our heritage, but you know, we have also been able to send people out there to reflect Ghana. I think about Kofi Annan. I think about somebody like Amata Edu, who her wonderful books have introduced readers to the magical world of Ghana. I think about Kofi Awuno, and I also think about somebody like J.H. Nketia, who you just mentioned. Who others do you think are some of those great, wonderful...
This is a great question you have asked. You see, it's very unfortunate that in the BECE exam, they ask a question, who is or who was Ghana's first professor? And they say K.A. Buzia. You understand? When this country produced somebody born in 1703, and by 1723, the man had become a professor in about 5 leading German universities, Jena, Helmstedt, Leipzig, Wittenberg, and another one. You understand? Halle, making it 5. A Ghanaian who was the first black scholar and contributed to the Enlightenment, Professor Anton William Amo. And we don't learn anything about him. I attended a seminar at the German embassy. And you know, in 1965, the German government sent a plaque. On it is written, dedicated to the memory of Anton William Amo. Oh, wow. Scholar, 1703 to 1759. And it's fixed at the entrance of the philosophy department of the University of Ghana. And the Germans said, the documentary indicated that thousands of students passed by without any one of them turning to look at what is written on the plaque that Ghana produced. Ghanaian. Wow. Now come to talk about a leading Ghanaian band, Osibisa. Yes. Of all the 100 leading songs in the world, the classical one, a Ghanaian band, Osibisa, has one in it. Wow. Number 2, is the only band on record that toured every country in the world. And Ghanaians do not know this. That. And our own Kwame Nkrumah, you know, if this man could be said to be Africa's man of the millennium, the only African leader whose statue stands at the forecourt of the AU, and we don't learn these things about our people, then there is much to be desired. Ya Asantewa, the only African, and let me repeat, the only African who fought to protect an African heritage. The Ashantis formed an empire, all right, empire of conquest, but it was only the Yasantewa War of 1900 which had the intention of preserving the golden stool. So it was a unique war altogether. And we forget about it. Or when you mention, people will bring in politics, or people will bring in tribalism. It doesn't help anybody.
It's a shame, isn't it? Like you said, on the Day of Independence, the unification and the representation of everybody should have symbolized this unification.
And then don't also forget that Ghana, this country, has got between 33 and 40 forts and castles, depending on what you call a fort. And it is, the country has got the largest concentration of forts and castles in Africa. And because of this, we all know that the forts and castles were slave forts and castles. Ghana produced the highest number of people sent to the West Indies, the Caribbean. And so as we sit here, they speak Fanti in Jamaica. And in fact, Jamaica, the word Jamaica, which many the Jamaicans themselves do not understand, it's a Fanti word, Jamaica.
Oh,
yes, when they dumped them there,
my God,
Jamaica,
Jamaica.
Jamaica.
Oh my God.
And when you go to Haiti, all of them came from Ghana. And it was a Ghanaian who led the Haitians to defeat Napoleon's army. in Haiti. And Haiti became the first independent black nation on the earth.
Wow.
We have a lot that we have achieved, but we pretend we have forgotten them.
Well, so Mr. Lecturer here,
Yes,
Dr.
yes,
Lecturer,
yes, I'm enjoying the history very much, and this is very good for us in academia and those in policy making. So I will have to relate exactly what I want to say to what you just said. You know, the Center for National Culture is established to preserve and conserve our culture as Ghanaians. So as my brother, colleague, historian was talking about African studies, establishing something in almost all the regions and the districts, it exists already in the form of the Center for National Culture.
Okay.
That is supposed to take care of that. What are they doing so far? That is what we need to interrogate. We need to interrogate whether they are living up to what they have been established to do. We know that several and successive governments have tried very hard to do something on culture and cultural policies. Yeah. So Nkrumah had a very beautiful cultural policy. The overthrow also overthrew his policy. Now, and successive governments have tackled cultural and cultural policies. But in 2004, former President Kufuor assented to a cultural policy, which we have today, but it has become what I would term a white elephant, because there wasn't a conscious effort in proper consultation in establishing that document. Like my senior brother and colleague is saying here, you know, he has given us some history of professors. I mean, if we have had extensive consultation, we would know that before Buzia, there were professors. But because we haven't done that, so that cultural policy, as I know, we haven't really lived up to it. But thank God, about 2 years ago, when Madam Barbara Otin Jersey, I think she's the one, was the minister, she attempted to review the cultural policy document 2 years ago, but for some reasons they could not finish. Now I am praying and hoping that both the Minister of Tourism and Chieftaincy and Culture will come together and look at that cultural policy again. It is to identify stakeholders within the cultural space, have consultation, and build a document that will serve to this generation and serve the future generation. Now, when this happens, what we need to do for its full implementation is to back it with law. If you just do a policy and leave it, a policy is a policy. Somebody can decide that I will not do anything with it. Council here can tell us, but if there is a legal document that backs it, then you are compelled to do. If you don't do it, people can take you to court. So we need to establish very well our cultural policy. You know, it is only by that that we can consciously say that we are preserving our culture and we are telling our history as it were. Ampe, for example, why don't we see Ampe these days in the schools? Storytelling in the evenings is non-existence. Even the puberty rite, the famous puberty rite among our people, our Krobo brothers and sisters, how much do we do it these days? I mean, that puberty rite, it cuts across. It's not only among the Krobo people. The Ewes do it, the Akans do it. These days, you don't see those things happen. So we are really, it's not extinct yet. There are people who still know about it. The earlier we tap into the knowledge and wisdom of the existing people, document them, and see how much we can implement some of these things legally, then it helps us. So I am hoping that the cultural policy document that we do have, which is not working anyway, we will look at it again. But in looking at it, we don't only bring experts, people who are knowledgeable in the thing, but we consider people who are also going to implement, practice it, so that we consult all of them, even children, we ask them, teaching. And it is only in this way that we can say that we are preserving very well. We are preserving also our history. A lot of people say we have had a lot of distorted history, but it's not yet distorted. I think we can correct it. It's very important. Yes.
Thank you. We'll take a break. We'll be right back. This is Talking Points on GBC and GTV. Welcome back to a special Independence Day edition of Talking Points. With me in the studio, to my immediate left, is Attorney Anochi Frimpong. He's a lawyer and historian. And next to him is Dr. Senor Ajay. He's a lecturer at the College of Humanities and Legal Studies, Faculty of Arts, Department of Music and Dance at the University of Cape Coast. So I want to change the topic just a little bit, Attorney, and ask you, because, you know, when we talk about culture, we talk about heritage, you see this richness in Ghana, but I want to go a little bit to our fathers. My father traveled, went to school, came right back to Ghana. I couldn't wait to come back to Ghana. Now, you fast forward 50, 60 years, and I wanted to read to you a survey by Afrobarometer. 4 in 10 Ghanaians have considered leaving the country. Similarly, in 2017, the Ibrahim Forum reports observed that 50% of tertiary educated people in Ghana leave the country annually. I'm just trying to understand what is happening in this area where our forefathers wanted to come back to Ghana to help in the development, to assist in everything. And 65 years later, we have the complete opposite, where all the young are going and they have no intention of coming back. What do you think is happening in that area?
This is the area where I believe the answer will push us to politics. You see, the same Afrobarometer will tell you that Ghanaians, by survey, are the proudest people in Africa. Yes. They talk about loving their country more than any other people in Africa. So if we are saying that they also want to leave, then it becomes a paradox. And I believe that the answer lies in the governance of the country. First, talk about teaching. You know, my brother here is a teacher. And if you can imagine that his salary is not up to 5,000 Ghana cedis a month when he has a wife and children. And in Ghana, for that matter, Africa, when you stand there, you are not the only person standing there. Your sisters who have given birth and have no husbands, you pay their school fees. If your mother is alive, every month you send money home. And it will also have to go to her own sisters and brothers in the church. Once they see you are a lecturer, a businessman, whatever they are doing, you become the chairman. And this comes out of somebody's salary that is less than 5,000 Ghana cedis a month. And if somebody would tell us of another university where the salary is about $2,000 or more, then I would want to go there. Our footballers, ask Kotoko, ask them how much they pay the footballers. Some of them at the end of the month, the player does not receive even 600 Ghana cedis. So if there is another country that will pay me 2,000 Ghana cedis a month, wouldn't I go there? So I believe that there is something that is missing, and that thing is not from our culture. It's not from the chiefs. It's not from our elders. It is from the politicians. And it's not too late for us to do something that will help the average worker in Ghana to be satisfied and content and continue to serve this country.
Okay. So I want to take some time to read some questions and comments that have come in, so that as I read them, you can comment as needed. Thank you for the great panelists you have tonight. I've indeed learned a lot. I wish the lawyer historian would write a book about to educate us about our forgotten heroes. So here you go. That's a great endorsement. And then another one, please write books on the historical facts that you are giving us. Hi, good evening, GBC. I'm really enjoying your program. I want to contribute to it. Please, when we are talking of our cultural heritage or Ghanaian language, tree can never be left out. One of the things that is really sending this country to the ditch is part of the holes in our education system. You can imagine when a student speaks our Ghanaian language and the student is punished in school. Our Ghanaian language is not considered as vernacular in our schools. When you look at the world in terms of development, about 90% of developing countries use their own language in doing everything. Why not Ghana? I think education systems should be such that nobody must be punished for speaking the local languages. From Alfred Ajin Kwachi from Kumasi. I don't know if anybody wants to comment on this before I go to the next one. This is from Big Tony in Accra. You guys are looking splendid in the African fabric, even though we are doing well as a country to preserve and promote our culture. I don't understand why we still have to wear suits to Parliament and our offices as a must. The president looks great in his African fabric whilst in office and the suits. Let's begin to wear African fabrics to work and forget about the colonial legacy of the suits. This is somebody who is, again, very appreciative. Wow, beautiful history from the lawyer. So much to learn. Kindly repeats the show over and over again. This is from Bob Charles Agbontor from New Biker in Boem Oti. Ghana is a place where, with unique cultural heritage, a place where a man will have an Ekwapim mother, an Ewe father, marry an Ashanti woman, a country where Fufu is served as an Ewe festival and Banku is served as an Akan festival. A place where two different tribes far apart enjoy one delicacy, a Chims and Dagatis, dog meat. A place where Fantis, Kwewus, and Asantis enjoy marrying Ewes because of Akbala and Fetridiche, beautiful Bobo and Agbaja. I love my Ghana and our heritage won for us. God bless our homeland Ghana and make us great and strong. Happy 65th Independence Day to our beloved country, Ghana. We can preserve our heritage by respecting our diversity culture. Above all, we need to cultivate creativity, a way of molding our positive impact on our cultural heritage. And this is from Maxwell Dambe, Winchi Model School. Good evening. This is a gentleman called Saka who just wants us to share his contact. We'll just talk about a bit. This is the Right Reverend Samuel Kofi Osubote on the issue. On the issue of morality, our generation is caught in a postmodernism with its attendant globalization. In this scenario, there seems to be a clash of cultures, and in the confusion, our young people are caught in a state of dilemma. We need to be deliberate and intentional in our teaching, in teaching our moral values in our homes and at all levels of our educational institutions. Thank you so much for all of you who have sent in your messages. Thank you. Oh, I'm sorry. I think I've read this one already. Please, good evening. This man is a great asset to this country. Please, can we get his contact so we can invite him to our school sometimes to have him talk with the children? This from Anthony from Omanjo in Accra. Amazing historian. Please, how can we follow up? So we'll just make sure that we give you some of these contact information. Very important discussion. It seems like that's to downplay the achievement of Buzia.
I didn't downplay.
No, I don't think you did. I think what you were you're talking about the professor situation.
Yeah.
Exactly. And the fact that it's important to look back in history and find those who, I think many of us don't look too far back when we are doing things. So maybe that's a lesson for all of us. Patience Ahiabu from Taifa. I want to thank Lawyer for the insights into our history and for speaking the truth. And this is from Akwesi Atakwa. More needs to be done in our educational system. And then this is from Joseph Eduse in the Ashanti region. Good to the host and your panels. Indeed, you are doing a good job. And this is the kind of people to lead this great nation for us to work on our heritage, Ghana. And he's Joseph Eduse, I think I said that. He says, in view of your discussion, this is a question, how can we merge them into our educational system now? So let me start with you, Lawyer. Okay, so Dr. Ajay, let me just...
Yeah, thank you. Just a quick response to some of the messages that you have read. I think recently I listened to a documentary that somebody did from the Western region, and it was written in the school, no vernacular. And the kids there are flogged when they speak the Wasa language. Hence, they are unable to communicate at school. So there was a documentary just to highlight the aspect of the lack of teaching of subjects in our own Ghanaian languages. I think it is important that this is where, again, I come back to a cultural policy. It is very critical. How do we put all these things into our school? Again, just before I continue, the Right Reverend Kofi Osubote is the former bishop of the Methodist Church, Accra, the Accra Diocese, and he is actually in charge of the directorate, the advisory chairman of the advisory board of the Heritage Directorate. Bishop, Former Bishop, Congress. Thank you for watching. Yeah. So it comes back to the policy issue, where we need to have a clear-cut policies. If you tell teachers to teach lower primary in Ghanaian or indigenous languages, and there is no law backing that, and we send our kids to school, and you enter the class and they are taught in English language, you cannot take that teacher anywhere for teaching your child in a foreign language. All of us today, we want our children to speak somebody's language first, even before. Now our children cannot dream even in their own languages. It's very, very critical. So what we need to do is to have a clear-cut policy to say that this is how our teaching, our education system to go. Policy, I am not an expert on curriculum development or policy planning, but I think that we can offer advice as to, because we are in the class, we know what is going on, extensive consultation. Now, we must do everything possible there is to make sure that we go back to our class, our school system, and people to celebrate a festival. There used to be a day declared that it's a cultural festival in school. I don't know if it is done these days. We don't do it. We use months to prepare. Today, they say the hours are not even enough for classroom study. So we are not able, our children are not able to learn to drum bobobo, to learn to drum kete or adowa, fontonfrom, to dance to all these beautiful, to apatampa, bamaya, achiagbeko, and all these indigenous dance types. They exist. They can only learn them from school. So we should reintroduce the cultural festival where awards will be given. Every year, there should be a declaration, like this is Heritage Month. Why can't our schools compete and put songs of Ghanaian origins together, learn those songs and go and seek for competition? You don't only learn the song. I was young when we were singing in school choir, and then they will bring an account song for everybody to sing. From there, we are able to sing a Kank song, you see? So you feel you have an encounter even with the language. Back then in the village, they sent from Amu songs, some of the ever ones, and people have to learn among the Akans, among the Dagombas, among the Dabanis. Today, does that exist?
And then I learned an Ewe song when we were in primary school. Remember, Mavae, Menyebo, Mavae, Menyebo. Mava efiabo, efiakumabo, mava ejobo, ejokumabo, mava menyebo.
The historian.
It was my teacher who taught me that.
On that note, we have to take another break. We'll be right back. Please stay with us. This is Talking Points on GBC and GTV. Talking Point, I'm Dr. Nimright. Tonight's guests are, on my immediate left, Attorney Anoche Frimpong. He's a lawyer and a historian. And next to him is Dr. Senyo Ajay. He's a lecturer, College of Humanities and Legal Studies, Faculty of Arts, Department of Music and Dance at the University of Cape Coast. I know I'm not pronouncing it well, right? It's not a J, it is...
It is.
It is a
It
J.
is. You got it right.
Because of the Z.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
All right. So I just wanted to read a quick message here. I would also, this is from Apostle Vincent, I would also like to add my voice. It's a very strong talking point, which I wish to encourage your panelists to carry on their powerful education in regards to our heritage. We need change, so many things to bring back better Ghana governance. Let's build Ghana together as one nation and one people, just as it was some years back. Do you have anything to add to that?
Well, what I would say is this. Recently, we heard about this Asantehene and the Domahine issue. If you go down to history, you will see that the Domahine's brother is a Sumeja Hene. You know, a Sumeja in Ashanti and Doma in Bono. They are one. So it shows we are one people. Yeah. Somebody mentioned Professor Buzia. Maybe he didn't understand me, but it's good that the person mentioned it so that it gives me an opportunity to say something excellent about him. Professor Buzia was the first African ever to have lectured at Oxford University. He taught rural sociology. And one thing too, I believe the person who made that comment possibly knew, and if he didn't know, then I would educate him on that. That Professor Buzia and Dr. Kwame Nkrumah were actually cousins. It was Buzia's family, the Agona family of Wenchi, that migrated to Awawin Dadiaso, and from there to Nsaim, that's Nkrumah's line. So Nkrumah and Buzia hailed from the same house as cousins. Despite that, Nkrumah would call himself an Nzema or Wasa, and Buzia would call himself Bono. The family is just one.
And I think that reflects Ghana, that we, no matter what, we are
just one people. United, and I believe the chief of Wenchi is listening to me and is nodding positively. We are one people.
So this is from Dr. Mrs. Philomena Yabuake and USU. I'm really enjoying this program. Our cherished heritage needs to be discussed more so that the youth of this nation will feel proud to belong and partake in its pride and development. Dr. Anoche, Dr. J, well done.
Thank you.
We haven't had the time to talk a lot about our natural resources. But I think that's another area too that when we were younger, it cultivated this sense of cultural pride. I remember we would go to Bree Gardens, we'll go to some of these places, and some of them are not probably up to where they were back then. But this is an area that I think maybe we allow the foreigners to enjoy it more than we, the Ghanaians, taking ourselves or our families to go on holidays to really appreciate those things that could help us build our pride in Ghana. I don't know if you wanted to add anything to that, Attorney. All
that I would want to say is that, yes, with regards to the natural resources, if you compare Ghana to other countries, you will see that we allow the foreign companies exploring them or exploiting them to take a very big chunk of the money or profit being generated away. And at the end of the day, we become very impoverished, even though we pride ourselves as having the resources here. The most conspicuous example would be that of gold and then oil. So I think that's something will have to be done here to reverse the system. And when I say this, I also say that in the areas, in the mining industries, efforts must be made to employ youth from the area. Very, very important. And then within the catchment area, ask yourself what percentages in terms of equity shares are being created for the chiefs and people in that area. If, for example, Ghana has made a few billions of revenue out of oil, and then you go to the Nzema area and you don't see the reflection of even $100,000 as something that has been used to develop the area, then it is very, very sad. And with your question, I believe something will have to be done about it, so that when Ghana is talking about oil, we will so proudly talk about oil. Now, unfortunately, we've run out of time. So I was actually going to ask for your final thoughts about culture, about heritage, and about... Give him 30 seconds to do the...
Yeah, I think that we have a very good reason to preserve everything we have in terms of our culture and cultural activities, and we must hold fast to the institutions such as churches should be able to preserve our culture. We must not allow everything to just get away. The school system should be able to preserve much of our culture. You talk about natural resources. I mean, you know that those days in school we have sections, yeah? So sections have places to weed and grow grasses and plants and so on and so forth. It does not exist anymore. You see that parents now go even to help weed campuses for children, which we must do. But let us continue to have a cultural day in our churches. Let people wear their traditional dresses. Let people come and cook, as my church has established now. We have a cultural day. People cook all kinds of things from the north, and then it's distributed among organizations, the churches organization. So these are my thoughts, that we must do all things possible. Because we have been handed something, we must hand over something. Thank you.
Attorney, final 30 seconds.
Well, I believe that 65 years after independence, Ghana has gone very far. And I believe with the years coming, we'll even be richer, more united and blessed than this.
Okay. So like the guys would say, Minda Bushi, Wandam Yeshiwa, for being here with us tonight. You have actually educated a lot of us, and we are grateful. And to you, our listeners and our viewers, thank you so much for joining us on tonight's Talking Points. My guests have been Attorney Anochi Frimpong. On my immediate left, he's a lawyer and historian. And on my far left is Dr. Senora J. He's a lecturer, College of Humanities and Legal Studies, Faculty of Arts, Department of Music and Dance at the University of Cape Coast. I am Dr. Nimrai. This has been Talking Point. Thank you so much for sharing your Sunday with us. Good night, good luck, and please be and take care. Till next week.